Hey everybody, this is herculespetix, founder, curator, docent, and gift shop employee of the herculespetix Academy of Comic Book Studies. Today we're going to be looking at Fuktup Funnies. This is a 1972 underground comic by, for the most part, by Marty Nelson. Marty Nelson apparently never did anything else other than this, but it's actually pretty damn good. It's kind of surprising that this guy never did any other undergrounds or any other comics at all. You can kind of get a sense of his style here on the cover. It's nothing too revolutionary or actually great, but it's good. It's okay. I like this how he has all the characters like in a Golden Age comic. Our boss, Darn Old Duck, Dizzy Ducklepsy, Mr. Fix-It. I love this character, Boobs a lot. I like that name. And Nameless Hippies. We are promised sex, dope, perversion, and mom. So, this is a pretty fun underground. Unfortunately, it's a very beat up one. If anyone has an extra copy of Fuktup Funnies and they want to send it to me, I'd be very grateful. Because this is not worthy of the Academy's library. So here we see our boss. This is supposedly the owner of Fuktup Funnies, exhorting the reader to buy more copies so he can get rich. So we start off with the first story, That Darn Old Duck in Fonda Livin'. And as you can see, you know, this artwork is going to set the world on fire or anything, but it's kind of fun. It's definitely a fun underground. So Darn Old Duck is this like old alcoholic homeless person. And one night he says, I'm going to sleep with dignity tonight. And because I have a quarter. And I don't know was this a thing back then? Movie theaters would stay open all night. And it would be 25 cents after 3 a.m. And they would just show movies. And I guess most people went to sleep there. You know, street people. By the way, guys, I should mention this. Even though Comics Joint doesn't mention this. It says M. Nelson M. Booba. Let me look closer at that. Or M. Duda? Buddha? Okay, whatever it is. I don't know who it is who helped him on this. So he goes inside. There's a lot of homeless guys there asleep. Unfortunately, the first movie is a war movie with all these explosions. And he's like, son of a bitch. He goes up to the projectionist booth and knocks on the door. He's like, turn it down. That guy's asleep, though. So then he gets to see a bunch of other movies. Where the Goys Are. John Wayne in The Green Lames. And Rory Calhoun in Hell's Poop Hole. These all sound like fun movies. But then he wakes up. And there's a climactic nude scene in one of the films. And he is smitten. Darnold is just like, whoa, who's that? Turns out it's Jane Fonda. Who, it's Jane Fonda. And I don't remember Jane Fonda ever being that busty, but whatever. But he's really in love with her. He says it's the first woman he's been aroused by. He's felt arousal for since Lillian Gish. That's how old this guy is. Excuse me, guys. So he goes to the park to bum some change. And there's a rally, like a hippie rally going on, a demonstration. And he's like, ew, a bunch of smelly hippies. I like how this hippie chick, though, is saying, ew, smelly old bum. So they give him their wine because it's shitty wine. They're like, take the whole bottle. We don't even want it. And then it's at this rally, they call up to the stage Ms. Jane Fonda. And Darnold can't believe it. His heart is beating through his shirt. And he can't control himself. He runs up. He bum rushes the stage. But he's so old that his legs betray him. He smashes into the bandstand. When he wakes up, he's being cradled in the arms of Jane Fonda. And she has all this pity for him and sympathy. She's like, oh, this poor old guy. And he is just like on cloud nine. And Jane Fonda says, oh, I kind of feel responsible for him. Even though he's jumping on the stage just to basically assault her. These feds are watching the scene. And they realize that Darnold Duck has a warrant for him. His arrest for like 60 years. He deserted, I think, during World War I or something. And so Darnold is nestled in between Jane Fonda's thighs and her breasts. And then he can't resist it. He pinches her nipple. So she throws him to the ground and says, you old lecher. So the feds arrest Darnold and they haul him off. The afternoon papers tell the story. Oldest Navy deserter nabbed in draft protest. And Jane Fonda has a change of heart. She says, I made a horrible mistake. He wasn't just a rummy. He was one of our first revolutionary victims of injustice. A martyr. And to think that in my blindness I wouldn't give myself to him. I've been such a fool. I must write to him and tell him my true feelings. So our story concludes with Darnold in jail. His cellmate, he's telling his cellmate, read me the last paragraph again from Jane Fonda's letter. And it's like, come take my body and soul, my darling. Come into me, take me. And Darnold says, I still got it. This is almost like by the numbers underground comic. But I kind of like it. I just love all this goofiness. Next we have The Village Voice. And we see Dizzy Ratstein here. And this is just almost like a kind of a tribute to jazz. How we see this jazz club. And all these guys are just so into jazz. And one night, these two mysterious guys come into the club. And they're very nice to them. They give them food. They give them some beer. The tall one thanked them. And he basically... Oh, I'm sorry. But first, the short one takes out his saxophone. And he played A Prayer to Bird. You know, Charlie Parker. I kind of like this language. The haunting wail cut through the walls unnerving, wild and weird, until a cube of blinding light collapsed and Bird appeared. So he actually summoned Charlie Parker's ghost. And he plays for all these jazz bows. And all of them are just going crazy. He says that he blew their brains to jello. I kind of like this weird, all these musical notes. Just a bizarre little graphic motif. And then he finally flies off into the sky on this almost pathway of musical notes. So next, the tall guy decides to play. And he basically calls on John Coltrane, who, you know, his nickname was Train. This is worth the price of admission, I think, this panel. I love this panel. Him blowing a sax and this kind of groovy, cool train engine is coming out of his sax. And then the engine, he's got, you know, a face. He's blowing a sax and blowing out all these notes. Once again, that great graphic motif. But this is wicked to me. This is awesome. I would want a tattoo of that on my back. And then when he's done, he disappears. And These old jazz bows are just like, it says, this is the little rhyming ending. And though they have no money and live in filth and pain, they don't give a shit because they once dug bird and train. Kind of like this one. I'm not even a jazz fan, but yeah, I think this guy was. You can it kind of feels like he's really into it. So this is, okay, where things get weird, guys. So I only know about this from the Comics Joint website, the amazing website if you're into underground comics. So this is credited, even though Marty Nelson, in the indicia, he's given sole copyright for this whole comic. But this is signed by Joe Arthur Potts. Okay, that's not weird, that weird, right? But these two characters, Ozzy and Lotta, were created by Robert Armstrong in LA Comics #1. I think they also appeared in a Mickey Rat comic. And whoever this guy is, Joe Arthur Potts, the guy who signed this comic, it's not Robert Armstrong. I'm not like a master of looking at artist styles and being able to judge them, but I trust Comics Joint. And they're like, this is obviously not Robert Armstrong. So, like at first people thought maybe it's a pen name for Robert Armstrong. So he just wanted to tell this Ozzy and Lotta story. But the art doesn't look anything like Robert Armstrong. And yet, every now and then there's other Robert Armstrong references in this comic. So maybe this guy was just a huge fan of Robert Armstrong. And didn't even ask permission, just said, I like those characters. Very weird. So Ozzy and Lotta, they're a hippie couple. And Lotta got to work at night. She got a night job. And it sounds like Ozzy doesn't have to work at all. You know, they're hippies. So he's, every night he's kind of home alone. He's kind of bored. Nothing good is on TV. And he decides to just go out and walk around, maybe go to a bar. Here we see Nard from Nard and Pat. And he goes to a strip club. And here we see, what's her name? I forgot already. Boobs a lot. Even though they never say her name in the comic, we just know her name from the cover. But this Boobs a lot. Everyone in the strip club is like migrating to her stage. She's pretty voluptuous and hot. So he says, maybe I'll go to the part of the strip club where nobody's really congregating. See what these other girls are all about. And it turns out this one stripper it's Lotta. And she yells and she says, Ozzy. And they're both mad at each other. And they start fighting, physically like punching each other. And then he's chasing her around. He's like, come back here. And then she's bopping him on the head because he's pissed because she didn't tell him that her night job was being a stripper. You'd think as a hippie, he'd be cool with that. But also, she's pissed off at him for like, what are you doing here at a strip club? You fucking philanderer. And somehow the owner loves it. He thinks it's great theater. He says, you're hired. And so every night, I guess, they're the headliners. Ozzy and Lotta in the nude passion dance. And then Darnold Duck makes a little guest appearance here. So I don't know if anyone can answer this mystery. It's kind of weird. But see, it says J. Arthur Potts, clearly. I wouldn't be surprised if it says Marty Nelson guy. It doesn't look that dissimilar from the first story. Definitely more like detail and shading, but the faces kind of look similar, so I don't know the mystery of this character. Now we have another Ozzy and Lotta story in The Visitation. So Ozzy wakes up one morning, and Lotta's parents are there, or so he thinks. And the father's a big bully who's just like choking him and knocking him around. He's like, what have you done with our daughter? They're just typical American, people from that generation. And, Ozzy sleeps with a nude, so when he gets out of bed, he's naked, and the mother's mortified. And then, meanwhile, Lottie's just getting home. She looks in the keyhole because she hears this ruckus going on. And she doesn't recognize this old couple. She says, oh, it must be Ozzy's parents. They look really pissed off. I guess this is a family argument. I should leave. I'm just going to go to my friend's house and chill. So then these parents just keep getting madder and madder at him. But then finally it turns out that they're the parents of his ex-girlfriend who used to live there like 6 months ago. And of course Ozzy's like, you fucking assholes. Doreen's not my girlfriend. You know, that's their daughter. And Lottie's at her friend's house, oblivious. So now we have Dizzy Ducklepsy, it's hard to say, Ducklepsy in Hijinks or Cubana de Cubana Bop. And this is by Buddha and Nelson. So there's that name again, Buddha. I don't know who Buddha is. So, and Camacho didn't even mention him in the credits. So we see we're in a flight. It's approaching Miami. And then Dizzy pulls out a shotgun. I guess it wasn't hard to smuggle guns on planes back then. And I don't know if you guys remember, if you're older like me, but in the early to mid 70s, there were so many hijackings. It was like once a month. This is not like 9/11. Guys would just hijack a plane and demand to be flown somewhere like Cuba or, I don't know, anywhere. And also demand money. Say, hey, if you want us not to kill everyone on this plane, give us $1 million. It was a thing. It was, I mean, look at any sitcom or comedy show. There'll be jokes about it. It was a very common thing. So he takes over the plane. He says, I'd like to meet the pilot. And it turns out, you know, the pilots are so jaded. They're just like, oh, okay, sure, what do you want? And Dizzy hasn't even thought about it. He's like, I was just kind of doing this for shits and giggles. Any suggestions? And the pilots are like, go for the money, kid. So meanwhile, the air marshal is just, he's not helping because he's blotto. He's totally drunk. He's like, stewardess, bring me more booze. The stewardess comes and says, I'm sorry, sir, we can't serve alcohol when there's a hijacking. He says, well, I'm the air marshal. See my gun? And I order you to serve me another drink. He puts the gun in her face. So now Dizzy has come up with a thing. He says, oh, I'd like to go to Cuba. I hear Cuba's really nice. They've got really good drumming there. You know, really good Cuban music. So he says, I want to go to Cuba and I want $500,000 in $1 bills. So the FBI and whatever, the government concedes to his demands. And everyone comes off the plane except for the drunk air marshal who's blacked out. And then he says, okay, first you're going to fly me to New York City. I got a lot of friends there. And we see all the money. They loaded it onto the plane. And he's flying right over his old neighborhood. You know, some bad part of the town. 134th Street. In the 70s, that definitely wasn't a good part of town. That was pretty horrible. And he dumps all the money onto this ghetto. And everyone, of course, is loving it. They're like, yeah, it's raining bread. And then Dizzy realizes, this comic is so, like I told you, it's such an underground in every aspect. It's like hitting every note. He's like, hey, I'm horny. Come on, stewardesses, take your clothes off. And, of course, they end up loving it. In all underground comics, you know. That's how it goes. But then, right then, the air marshal wakes up. And he's like, oh, that goddamn long-haired lunatic. I'm coming out shooting. So Dizzy takes the two stewardesses into the bathroom so they can have some privacy. And the air marshals just start shooting wildly. Of course, making holes in the plane. And the plane is going to have to land now. Of course, the whole time Disney's just having sex with these stewardesses. Because it's an underground comic. And the plane is losing altitude. And then it goes into a tailspin. I guess because of all the holes. They're depressurized. And they land right in the ocean. And Dizzy and the two stewardesses are completely safe on a wing. This floating wing from the plane. And they're also quite close to Cuba. So, he's like, start dog paddling, girls. We'll make it there in time for the sugar harvest. And now we have a back cover, Mr. Fix-It. And this is Mark Nelson. This guy returns home from a long trip, this hippie dude. His girlfriend is just completely zombified in front of the TV. He's trying to tell her about, what's happened. Like, oh, man, I got some really cool shit to tell you. Some fantastic shit went down. And she's just like, could you wait, dear? Let's make a deal is on. So he gets so angry, he pulls out a gun. And he blows up the TV. Kind of an odd little one-page comic. It's just not much of a punchline. I don't even know if you can consider it a punchline. But, I don't know, I think this kind of looks good to me. This is like kind of decent. I don't know. This guy's not a great artist by any means, but it just looks kind of like a nice underground. He does the basic layouts okay. So there you go, guys. Fuktup Funnies from 1972. Not the best underground by far, but kind of a fun read. And definitely, if you're into undergrounds, it hits all the notes that you expect from an underground. So this is the kind of stuff that, I just love this stuff. It's not really that good. Objectively, I can't say this is a great comic by any means. And yet, I love buying these and reading them. I think it's the sociological aspect. It's like, I wasn't alive. I wasn't a hippie back then. It's such a crazy different world. And I guess I'm still inspired by that era, even though I'm not a hippie at all. And I don't really subscribe to most of their philosophy. But I do like the hippie comics and reading about them. So there you go, guys. Fuktup Funnies. Hope you liked it. And I hope to see you next time here at the Herculespetix Academy of Comic Book Studies.